What if the police not only enforced laws, but acted as judge, jury, and executioner? What if they embodied the supreme law of the land and enforced justice right there on the spot? What kind of world would that look like?
Well, you don't have to ponder too hard, because the movie Judge Dredd exists, and to answer your question that you're thinking, yes, I'll be wearing this the entire time. And I reserve the right to use my aggressive accent whenever I desire. Now, gentlemen, before we get too deep into the video, I want to give you a massive thank you for taking the time out of your day. For the goal of these videos is strictly entertainment. Maybe a little bit something learned, maybe a little bit something thought about, but ultimately a lot of time killed. Now, for the sake of this Bureau Files video, we will mainly be revolving around the Judge Dredd movie from 2012, starring Karl Urban. I will be pulling from some rough lore that isn't really expanded upon too much in the 2012 version, but is general accepted background canon. I don't have any plans to really reference Stallone's Dredd version. I just didn't really like it. I thought it was kind of schlocky.
I'll be the judge of that.
And then they killed it with the new vibe in the 2012 movie, so I wanted to go off of that idea. This isn't necessarily a movie review, more so a thought piece, playing with certain ideas. Context and plot will be added. This video is actually kind of special to me because I myself was in law enforcement before I took the long walk. The long walk to become a YouTuber. The movie released September 21st of 2012 with a budget of $30 to $45 million, and it did not perform too hot at the box office. It did not make its doubloons back on investment. Despite the financial failure, the movie was a banger. The action is unapologetically violent, which scratches the itch of being a spectator in the gladiatorial coliseum. The visuals are rich and aesthetic. The soundtrack, while not Hans Zimmer level of epic, carries the tone appropriately. The plot line is simple. Deliver justice. For some reason, when I first watched it, I didn't appreciate it as much as when I rewatched it more recently. And it's funny how time can do that. Despite the simple appearance of the plotline, there are many themes to unpack in the movie. One can get his Kino rocks off and media literacy max till he's brimming with smug satisfaction after scaring the host at the local mixer. Kind of pretentious writing, but you know what I mean.
Absolute cinema.
The simple plot speedrun. We're gonna speedrun the plot for context in case you forgot the movie or you've never seen it. The movie is 13 years old and you guys need to have more important information inside of your brains, like how to properly dismount a French knight with an English longbow.
There is Mega City 1, inhabited by 800 million people.
Stretching from Boston to Washington, D.C., it's the remnants of a world plagued by nuclear war. The nature of the city lends to a massive amount of crime. The judge is the physical manifestation of the law. The story revolves around Judge Dredd and his rookie Judge Anderson that has psychic abilities from growing up too close to the radiation of the outside world. While on patrol, they get a call for service at the Peachtree's tower block in response to a triple homicide. This would lead them on a vertical battle taking on dozens of criminals and fellow judges. The climax is Judge Dredd serving justice to the leader of the criminal organization, and Rookie Anderson getting the pass from the legend himself. Just another day in Mega City 1. You have the general outline of the story, and the plan is to go back into that story and pull instances that I want to highlight. The goal of this video is to actually play and contrast with the ideas of the judges and the legal systems they represent. Mainly the legal system we're talking about is the American justice system. For my foreign fellas, I'm sorry, you got your own rules you got to play by, but I thought this was a fascinating look at our own society.
Subscribers of this YouTube channel, this is Judge Files.
Let him talk.
In case you people forgotten, this channel operates under the rules as the rest of my other channels. Shit posters are not the law. I am the law.
Legal systems sound boring, but they're not. Hi, I'm Bureau Files. Did you know Hi, I'm Bureau Files. Did you know you have rights? Well, the Constitution says you do. And so do I. Laws are society's rules that we were all taught to play by. We may not like them, but they exist. In our system, they can be changed and amended. They exist to bring order to chaos, and in most cases, they are pretty good stuff. No murder, raping, stealing are seen as pretty solid laws. Personally, there are plenty of laws that I enjoy. There are also plenty of laws that I despise. For instance, no billboards in Hawaii. I like that law. I want to keep Hawaii beautiful and pretty and unobstructed by billboards. An example of a law that I don't like. Anything to do with taxes. Oh, heaven forbid I want to fund Sesame Street in Iraq.
In this season, we're focusing on positive self-identity and self-concept.
I don't need to fund lesbian dance theory in Lebanon. I'm not trying to give out wood-fired pizza cooking lessons to kids in Cambodia. Let me keep my own god dang tax dollars.
What if this place was Mega City 1 the whole time?
I think it's important for the individual, that being you, who is most likely on the toilet, drinking some coffee, or maybe you are truly honoring me as a YouTuber by consuming some level of food, which is the highest level of honor you can give a YouTuber. Thank you. As I was saying, it's important for you as the individual to understand your rights and the rules of the game that you live under. Okay, you don't have to be a lawyer, but having a basic understanding of the rules and the laws is pretty important in case you have to deal with the refs of society. Those refs are known as the police, the hot fuzz, the pigs.
He's already pulled over! He can't pull over any farther!
Most people deal with cops in the form of a traffic stop. You were speeding, cop caught you, pulls you over, gives you a warning, a citation, or depending on how fast you're going, tows your car and takes you to jail. There are other occasions where the cops may investigate you and are suspicious that you have committed a crime.
Crime is afoot.
Okay, so typically my best advice for when people are interacting with the police in this manner. They're gonna approach you, say you're beep-bopping along the block, they're gonna say, hey, you, stop. What they're doing is detaining you, but it's good to confirm that.
Am I being detained? Am I being detained? Am I being detained?
If you are being detained for a suspected crime, the best thing you can do is shut up. Don't talk. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can and will be used against the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand your rights? Good. Don't talk to them. They're not your friends. If they are detaining you, comply with their orders because it makes the road pirates less likely to go hands-on with you and take you to jail.
Here's my license. Why don't you come and get it? Drop the knife. Fuck you.
But the best thing you can do is use these wonderful people called a lawyer who are working on getting their third beach home in Maui. They make much more money than you and they know how to deal with the street pirates. Now, despite the perception that some folks may have of the American law enforcement, they do have to operate by rules. How that mainly plays out in reality is determined by the individual they deal with. Certain actions lead to reactions from the police. Now, of course, our legal system isn't perfect,
but Judge Dredd is perfect.
Cops and judges are only human.
Yes, we drank beer. I liked beer. Still like beer.
And humans are susceptible to mistakes and worse, even corruption or gross negligence. We've talked about that before. Our system is also technically not super efficient because trials, due to the fair nature of their processes, can take years to complete. If you lived in a city with 800 million people, this could be very problematic. What would be the best way to streamline society's legal system and keep order?
Now, of course, we get to the solution to this system. The judge.
The judge of Mega City 1 is like if a Halo 2 Spartan decided to become a cop.
For most of these judges, training starts at just 5 years old. Only 15% make it to graduation. Lasting for over a decade, the final test, known as the hot dog run, is a real-world mission that took place on the cursed earth.
Side note, one of my sources said that training lasted up to a decade, but then I was trying to imagine like a 15-year-old, if it starts at 5 years old, like a 15-year-old judge being like, freeze, I am the law. Doing like a Fortnite, like emoting on you as he like executes you for jaywalking. I was like, get out of here, it's gotta be over a decade. Like if there was a 15-year-old judge chasing me down, I'd be like, I'm gonna commit crime, I guess. I mean, I was young when I became a cop, and I even look back and I'm like, what were they thinking, giving me a badge and a gun? But to be fair, governments are not shy about sending men even younger than I was to go off to war and die, or I guess get killed in general, so. Those are governments for you. Many don't survive. Funny enough, this reminds me of like a real life example with a Spartan Agoge. Boys aged 12 to 18, forced to survive in the wild, to try and steal food and survive, and if they got caught, they would get severely beaten. Mainly not for stealing, but for just getting caught. Talk about toughening a fella up. Can't do that these days. Kids are getting soft. We can't beat kids anymore, they're getting soft. We can't Agoge the kids anymore. There's a lot more to the Agoge thing. It gets very like, ew. I always love when I see comments about like ancient Spartans being super tough, and I'm like, yeah, the Spartans are tough until they meet a Theban phalanx. Where do you think the Macedonians learned how to make their phalanxes? From Philip being a prisoner in Thebes, and he watches the Thebians crush the Spartans that everyone was afraid of, like, oh my god, they're so scary. The graduates then undergo field training as rookies under a senior judge. This such instance is one of the subplots that helps propel the movie. One famous line I love for the movie is when the chief judge orders Dredd to throw Anderson in the deep end, and he replies stoically, "It's all the deep end." We gotta give Karl Urban credit for this. The movie potentially could have had a lot of cheesy one-liners, but now it has a bunch of cool one-liners. Another thing I love about the movie is how Karl Urban kept the helmet on the entire time. If only the Halo show had the same dedication, we may have gotten a slightly better product out of that fiasco. I really don't like it when a character has a whole shtick of like keeping their face covered, and then an IP just goes and ruins that. I couldn't imagine being a rookie in Mega City 1. It's a meat grinder. What do I mean by that? To contrast my own experience, my academy was just 6 months and 4 months of field training, where it's like a supervised by your FTO, your field training officer, in a sort of crawl, walk, run phase where they go from like holding your hand to it's like, all right, rookie, what are we doing? Objectively, I gotta say, in this fictional universe, the judges are pretty badass individuals, just given the rigorous training that they had to go through. Before Dredd gets Anderson, he was in a high-speed chase with 3 suspects. All of them armed, one at least for sure had a submachine gun, and he was actively having a rolling gunfight on the highway. And they're like, hey, Dredd, do you want backup? And he's like, negative, and just keeps rolling on. Another thing is like when the suspects realize that there is a judge on their tail, they don't even know it's Dredd yet, but when they realize there's a judge on their tail, they are freaked out. They have this feeling of absolute dread. See what I did there? I would assume, like, if you're a criminal in Mega City 1 and a judge pops up and you're committing a crime, it's like, well, okay, I guess I'm dead now. I kind of like how freaked out those criminals got, in the sense that the judge themselves represent death, and that, you know, kind of scene. It's kind of beautiful and artistic. It's very Kino, Bureau Files. He dispatches them without breaking a sweat, doesn't need backup, and moves like it was another boring call. If that was real life, it would be all over the news. There would be cities worth of cops responding to that event, and then some. It's like a Miami-Dade level event, but to them it's just another Tuesday. I feel like in this universe, it would suck for YouTubers like Donut Operator. Crime being so common that no one cares about it. The judges also don't have body cameras, and the body camera was the best thing that ever happened to Donut Operator's career. Hi everyone! And just me in the background just like quack, 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 quack. On a side note, watching Dredd move is very fascinating. There is no panic to him, there is no spastic quick movements, just fluid motion moving unrelenting towards a threat. The reason I bring this up is compared to real life, when guys are at risk of being shot, they move much quicker and with great care, darting to and from cover. Dredd just flows in and addresses the last bad guy and looks cool while doing it.
I said, hot shot.
I love how this entire segment introduces Karl Urban's Dredd. Dredd shows us that he's a force of nature. No one has to explain it to us. All the judges we are introduced to have a very stoic nature to them. Some are more stoic than others, to be fair, but it seems they all float just above robotic. To be fair, we could all probably trace this back to their lifestyle and upbringing, as harsh as it is. The judges have no personal life. They have forsaken family for the law, and the Justice Department supplies their needs. Their work days are long and brutal. They sleep very little and they work 16 to 20 hours a day. Listen, I am not a big work-life balance kind of guy. I think that whole phrase is kind of hokey. I am, however, a kind of guy where if you want to get out there, grind and hustle, put your back and sweat into it, then brother, you get after it and you earn what's yours. We were not built to live idly by, letting the days go. However, I think once you do accomplish whatever financial goals that you set out to do, that you should at some point ease off the gas pedal. You hit your financial milestone, now you can start to enjoy life some more. I think that's not a bad idea. The judges get none of that. Even in my short time in law enforcement, it aged me in dog years. And it was nothing like what these guys would experience in Mega City 1, which would be 1,000 times worse, and with much more grueling shifts. Like, look, in this hypothetical, looking at my own reality, thinking of my experiences, some of the stuff I saw still haunt me. You know, and this is real life, but if you're taking that thought process and applying it to the judges, where they're going nonstop, they're working many hours a day in a city that is just absolutely gnarly and riddled with crime, their soul would pretty much just be automaton like robots at that point. Like, for instance, compared to these guys, I worked 10-hour shifts and had 3 days off. Compared to them, I am like a retired judge. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna wear my body armor. I'm getting soft. I used to wear this for 40 hours a week. I used to wear this body armor for 40 hours a week, Colton. Now look at me, I'm getting soft, dude. Now, getting into some fascinating logistics about Mega City 1. Dredd mentions that they can only respond to 6% of the calls. It's also said in the movie that there are only thousands of judges. This potentially means that there could be a ratio of only 1 judge to every 100,000 citizens. A rough ratio at that. Seeing a judge could be like seeing a unicorn out in the wild. The call for service that came from Peachtree's was due to a triple homicide ordered by Madeline Madrigal, the leader of the Mama clan. I am surprised by the lack of attempt to hide the evidence of a triple homicide, how they just launched the bodies over a 200-story drop. But given in this universe that judges are so spread thin and that Mama is a crime boss, she probably thought she had nothing to worry about. But this would be Mama's undoing, because it brought one thing to her doorstep: justice. I am the law! Before Mama had the other drug dealers killed, she had them injected with a narcotic known as slow-mo, a drug that slows the user's perceived reality down to just 1%. I like it like that. Mama would then toss them out the atrium of a 200-story building. I asked ChatGPT to run the numbers for me. If you were given a drug that made you perceive time at 1% of normal speed and jump from a 200-story building, the fall, normally lasting about 20 seconds, would feel like 2,000 seconds, or approximately 33.3 minutes. That would be like falling and watching the entire length of this YouTube video. Hell of a way to go. Dredd and Anderson get there and make contact with a local medical worker who gives them the skinny of peach trees. They raid a drug den and capture a high-ranking member of Mama's clan. I will say, for how long these cats work, if they're wearing this kind of helmet for 16 to 20 hours a day, I'm gonna be real with you guys. This thing is not that comfortable. Now, if we're working with some sort of futuristic technology where I get a sick heads-up display, okay, that's kind of dope. Get to listen to some music or some podcasts in here. Jarvis, jork it for me. Anderson then uses her psychic ability and can detect that this member of Mama's clan had a hand in the triple homicide. Dredd then wants to take him in for questioning. Mama, seeing this, seals off the building and then informs the entire tower that the judges must die, and anyone not hunting them needs to get out of the way. Now, Mama is a savage, a product of the Mega City 1 world. In a way, I respect her for what she rose to become. Before becoming the drug lord that she did, she was a prostitute, until she was brutalized and scarred, taking her vengeance on the man who hurt her in a way that gives me the heebie-jeebies. She would then methodically take over Peachtree's and become the sole distributor of slow-mo. She went from being a victim to being the one that makes victims. While I don't think she's a beacon of morality, I can still respect her for what she is: a survivor. Dredd, being the relentless Halo Spartan of a cop that he is, doesn't panic whatsoever when he's sealed in.
What you don't seem to realize is, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me!
As the nuclear blast doors seal in the building, Judge Dredd doesn't skip a beat. Looking to his rookie, he asks her, "Okay, what do you want to do?" This is some extremely big FTO energy, and I am here for it. They would then proceed to work up the entirety of the 200 stories. Along the way, Mama employs some quasi-minigun-looking weapons, and many innocent civilians are caught in the crossfire. This really does reinforce a narrative. A narrative where, in conflicts and wars on crime, oftentimes the civilians are the ones that find themselves in the crossfire. The poverty of their situation doesn't help them out whatsoever. I would wager stuff like this doesn't happen in the much more affluent parts of Mega City 1. All-out gang warfare in a mega block. So not only are you poor in an overcrowded city hellscape full of crime, you must now die, gunned down in your own apartment building that you can barely afford while avoiding a conflict that was never your problem. Despite the massive attempt to kill the judges, Mama fails and calls in 4 judges on the payroll to help dispatch the judges that she can't. This is another good commentary on the corruption that festers in society. Despite the rigorous training and indoctrination of the judges, they still manage to be corrupted. This is another example of just how badass Dredd is. The judges responding are like, "Who's the judge? Dredd? Up the price. Up the price. Up the price, mama!" I will say this judge-on-judge fight scene does have me questioning the whole premise of the future technology, especially the body armor. The judge's body armor seems to do very little in the way of ballistic protection. I was thinking, given the small size of the judge force, these cats would have hyper advanced ballistic protection. I could see the case when Dredd gets shot by another lawgiver gun where it's like, okay, those rounds could have been advanced technology, so okay, that tracks. But when Anderson, with a pickup MP5A3, encounters the other judge, she smokes that judge with a Battlefield pickup. Just criminal ammo that she has in that magazine. Nothing special, nothing from a lawgiver. What was the point of the body armor? No wonder, like, no one wants to become a judge. Okay, this kinda bugs me, it kinda doesn't. The dramatic side of me knows it adds more stakes to scenes with the gunfights. The other side of me wouldn't mind seeing the judges be extra feared and harder to kill. Like the criminals getting into a gunfight with the judge was like signing your own death warrant, unless you had crazy numerical superiority because they're just so well trained, advanced technology, advanced body armor, literally a Spartan 2 that just so happens to be a cop. Like that would have been really cool to see, but if any Smo Joe with any, submachine gun can take out a judge, then it's like, are they really that scary? Like if I was a judge getting into 20 gunfights a day and my armor sucked, I'd be pretty pissed off. To be fair, a lot of cops wear just like level 3A body armor and a rifle round could smoke right through that, so. Dredd and Anderson would eventually reach Mama and be threatened with the futuristic dead man switch. Dredd inflicts a wounding shot and proceeds to give her a taste of her own medicine, both literally and figuratively. He sentences her to death, gives her a shot of slow-mo, and casts her from 200 stories up in the sky. It sounds like a gross 8th Amendment violation. No cruel or unusual punishment. But go off, King. In this one call for service alone, Dredd would kill roughly 60 criminals, gets shot in the process, gives Anderson the pass, and then proceeds to head back to work like it was just an inconvenience. As a fictional character, I of course think Dredd is an absolute badass. Extremely driven, unwavering in the face of death, no tolerance for corruption, and dangerously proficient in dealing out death. However, he is also a product of his dystopian society. In the lore, it said he was cloned. There may have been a hint of it from Anderson's first psychic encounter with him, but really not elaborated on in the movie. Dredd, like many other judges taken at a young age, never really had an option at anything else in life. All they know is the law, and all they are is the law. Their morality is the law. The law in this universe is subject to how the Justice Department seems fit. The government does not represent the people, instead it seeks to control them. It's a dictatorship. The judges are the ruling class that answers to no one. Now, I do think this system in a way is efficient, but I don't think it's just. It solves the problem right there on the spot rapidly. There's no drawn-out paperwork, no drawn-out court cases. There is only justice. But I don't think it's the kind that you want to be subjected to. One thing I love about this country, the great United States, is our Bill of Rights. Historically speaking, it was an unprecedented accomplishment. Never have a population been so free and self-governing. It of course had some ironic issues to work out that would lead to a civil war. Depending on where you are in the country, it's either, oh, way down south in the land of Dixie, or, oh, way down south in the land of traitors, rattlesnakes, and alligators. But historically speaking, many nations have such problems, and our recovery worked out. The Bill of Rights doesn't exist in the Dredd universe. You don't get a fair trial or legal representation. Judges don't need a warrant. They are the warrant. There's no innocent until proven guilty, just guilty. Judges, despite their rigorous training, are still human and prone to mistakes and clearly corruption. Yet even if there is a mistake, what other judge would correct a senior judge? Where's the accountability? This lack of voice for the citizens of Mega City 1 could lead to some extreme actions. When a population feels it has no say in how things happen, then that's how you get a revolution. I mean, hell, look at us. We were getting taxed to pay for a war our sovereign fought in the colonies, and even then still revolted against the crown. We were getting taxation without representation.
Patriots go.
Imagine being subjected to the world of Judge Dredd. I think an interesting plot line, if there ever was a sequel, would be some sort of militarized guerrilla freedom fighters that Dredd encounters, and it forces him to step back and criticize his own system that he's fought and killed so hard for. I mean, truly, in this universe, what other options do you have? Slog it out in the crime-ridden city ruled by tyranny, or risk it all to try and create a better system? A system that is true justice.